Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you a countdown. All right, we are live. Hello, Fall River. This is Chris. Today I'm here with Meg for Movement Mortgage. And I want to welcome you if you've never been online on Tip Tuesday live shows. Thank you for liking and supporting my page. I every week I put online weekly fun events hosted here in Fall River. So don't miss out. So if you live here in Fall River, check him out. I also put the link here on my description. So yeah, I have Meg today with us, and she is going to be talking about, what a home buyer should know. So Meg, what should a home buyer know before they buy a house?
So there is definitely a ton of information out there.
Yes.
And I always recommend that the first stop is to not go to the computer, but find a real estate agent that you know and you trust. In this case, you.
Definitely.
And then and you guys can kind of guide them because it's very uncommon for a lot of people nowadays to first start with a lender, start with a loan officer. So
Yes.
usually they come to a realtor first because that's the natural progression. They're like, oh, well, I want to buy a house, so I'm going to go to a real estate agent. And then the real estate agent will tell them, well, hold on.
Yes.
There are a few things that you need to know first. One, what's your budget? And what can you actually afford?
Definitely.
And so kind of narrowing down those options first is really the most important thing. You might go and see a nice $500,000 house, but that does not mean that you can afford a $500,000 mortgage.
Yes.
So the real first step is to talk with a loan officer.
Yes.
Fill out an application, provide all your income, credit documentation, and usually that's your W-2s or your tax returns if you're self-employed, pay stubs, and bank statements, just so the loan officer can get a well-rounded idea of what you have going on. I know it can be a little nerve-wracking to have someone look so deeply into your financial life, but it's really the only way of knowing exactly what you can afford and what situation is going to be best for you.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So.
So yeah, like Meg was saying, and she's totally right. I don't know how many times I've been in a situation where I have people coming up to me and just tell me, hey Chris, I just saw this house, I fell in love with it, and when can we go see it? And I'm like, hey, you've been pre-approved yet or pre-qualified? And the number of amount of times that people will be like, oh no, I haven't. I'm like, I'm sorry to let you down, but you needed to get that before you even start looking at houses. So it is very important to get pre-approved before even starting to look at houses, which, like you said, it helps knowing what your budget is. So yeah, so that's so what's out there that could help a person, what type of down payment assistance is out there that could help a first-time home buyer?
Absolutely. So down payment assistance is a huge topic nowadays because a lot of people think, well, I don't have 20% for a home. And I can tell you, I don't even have 20% for a home. So one of the things that's really awesome is there are a lot of first-time home buyer programs, or we also have other loan products that require less than 20% down. So you'll hear about the FHA loan. A lot of the times people refer to this as a first-time home buyers program. It's actually not, but it does appeal to those people because it only requires 3.5% down.
Wow.
So if you don't have a full 20% down or 5 or 10%, this is a great way of getting into a home for cheap and having something to call your own. Now,
Definitely.
If you don't have that at all, 3.5%, there's also other options that you might qualify for, such as down payment assistance through Mass Housing or some other kind of state agency. There's also Rhode Island Housing. There's a bunch of state setup agencies that help people get down payment assistance. And they have their own different types of programs as well. They have an FHA program, they have a conventional program. And so it's just kind of finding which one best suits you and which one has the guidelines that kind of fit your profile and is going to best serve you as a customer.
Definitely. And as I always tell my clients, so many people out there are interested in buying a house, and they just they're always thinking that they're not ready to buy a house now. And they're always thinking a year, 2 years from now. And I always let them know, you should sit down with a loan officer and see what's out there that could actually help you buy a house. And, these first-time home buyers assistance is, There's a fantastic idea and fantastic programs, including which I had a client of mine use the mass housing program, and he thought it was going to take him about a year to be a home buyer. In a matter of 3 months, he was holding the keys to his new house.
It's really awesome. So there's a lot of people who will throw around the 100% financing, especially in Massachusetts.
Yes.
Now that's a kind of a misconception. The down payment assistance through mass housing, it is almost a full down payment assistance, but it's 99.5%. So you still have to bring 0.5% of a down payment.
Yes.
But like, what's 0.5% compared to 20%, right?
Definitely.
So I mean, I'm sure if you can just kind of save a few paychecks or just kind of see a little ways out, you can probably, scrounge up the money.
Definitely, I agree. I mean, you'll be surprised if you are a coffee drinker like I am. And if you just stop drinking coffee or stopping by Starbucks, every day on the week, and you just do coffee at your house, you'd be surprised how much money you save at the end of the month. And if your goal is to buy a house, you will do any sacrifice, even just having to brew the coffee in your own house to make that dream come true. So, Meg, what is that Movement offers? The 7-day process. How does that work?
So as you said, I work with Movement Mortgage, and we do a lot of things specifically for our customers. It just kind of like centers right around them and how to make this process as stress-free and as easy as possible, because buying a house is no small task for anyone.
Yes.
So one of the things that we offer, it's called our 671. And what we have is an upfront underwriting process. So even before you guys go under contract, we will take your application, we'll collect your income documentation, we'll pull credit, and then we'll actually submit that to an underwriter. So you don't have to be out there, under contract with the house. You don't even have to have any offers in yet. An underwriter will look at your file, they'll look at your income, they'll look at your credit, and they'll say, okay, yes, John Smith is good for this amount of money because we see that his pay stubs reflect this amount and his yearly income and things like that. And what it does is give you an underwritten pre-approval. And when you take your clients out there, it strengthens their offers because, as you know, it's a very competitive market out there, especially now that we're in the spring and almost the summer. And when listing agents or sellers see that, they know they can. Well, I like to think that they know that an underwriter has confirmed all of these things and that the process is going to be very smooth. So any kind of hiccups or bumps have already been, kind of realized or seen and addressed ahead of the offer even being accepted. So, right now we're averaging about 18 days to close. But I mean, I just did a rescue loan last week and it closed within 8 days. So it's just, you have to have a lot of motivation as a seller and a buyer, but it is very, very possible. And that's kind of built into our 671 process. It's, within submitting to underwriting, an underwriter is going to look at your file within 6 hours. And then they have about 7 business days to look at, to get all the rest of the conditions, to get the appraisal done, to get the title working, all these other things that, kind of are part of the meat of buying a house that you can't really do before you go under contract. And then it's 1 day to get your closing documents out. So really it's an 8-day process that we kind of try to live and die by. Obviously it doesn't always work like that. There aren't many people who can go under contract and then 8 days later be moving into their house just because, can you pack up your house in 8 days?
I surely can.
But, it's something where we try to move at a very consistent, fast speed. So that way, 1, we can, help you guys better serve your customers. And then 2, just kind of take a lot of the stress off of the clients. So that way they can take the rest of the time to pack and, just feel comfortable and relaxed knowing that, okay, everything's been taken care of. Meg's got me, the underwriters have got me. I just have to get to the closing table now and sign my name on those papers.
Oh boy. So, Meg, now that you're with us, what's one of the biggest challenges that a first-time home buyer faces when they begin the process of, the pre-approval process?
So everyone has a different story. Everyone has, different circumstances around their lives and what they're looking for out of a house. But I say that the biggest obstacles is always the fact that people don't necessarily understand that there's a huge difference between a down payment and closing costs. And so that it's in itself can be kind of a shock. I can't tell you how many first-time home buyers like, oh, okay, well, my down payment is only going to be, 10 grand. I got that saved. I've got 11 in my bank.
Yes.
Well, what are you going to do about your closing costs? Because that includes your appraisals, that includes your attorney fees, it's going to include your escrow bills, and that's money that you also have to pay on top of your down payment. So it's really kind of working within your budget, being upfront with your loan officer saying like, okay, I have $11,000 to spend total, including my down payment. So then that's when I'll go to the realtor or I'll go to Christian and I'll say, okay, here, this is what they can afford, but let's try and get them negotiate some kind of seller credit. And, on my end, I'll look to see if maybe we can get some kind of lender credit for them.
Yes.
So that way, you really only have to worry about the bulk of your down payment. But I feel like that is the biggest kind of hurdle. It's because it's such a shock. Like, oh, I never really thought that there is anything else associated with buying a house other than the down payment.
Definitely. And the number of, like Meg had just mentioned, the number of clients that I've had as well that just surprised when I, when I mentioned, oh, you need to come up with a closing costs, is to just look at me and, seriously, and it's tough, but we got to let them know. So yeah, so if you are looking to buy a house and you're a home buyer, you got to make sure that, you got a down payment and you also got the closing costs for it.
But I do think it's really important to mention as well that working with Christian and then working with me is also free of charge. You're not paying out of your pocket, like in those closing costs. You're not going to see on your line on a closing disclosure, oh, well, X amount of dollars goes to Christian Pedraza or X amount of dollars goes to Meg McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Those are things that are completely outside of the realm. The seller takes care of you, my company takes care of me.
Yeah.
So I feel like letting them know that we kind of work for them, like for free almost, is, it can be kind of a comfort.
Yeah, definitely. Now, now that now that you're here, I'm just picking your brain, and I've done other videos where I've talked about what a pre-approval versus a pre-qualification may be, and I know there's some people out there don't understand what the difference is. Sometimes they confuse a pre-approval with their pre-qualifications, and they think it's the same thing. Now that you're here, will you take a moment and just kind of explain that? Yeah,
definitely. So those terms are absolutely used interchangeably all of the time, and they sound so similar. But essentially, a pre-qualification is you calling me and saying, okay, Meg, well, here's all my information. Maybe I'll pull credit. Maybe you'll give me your information to pull credit. But, oh, I make $50,000 a year, and here's one pay stub from like 6 months ago. And I just kind of take your word for it and be like, okay, well, I don't really have a complete file to see really what's going on.
Yes.
Versus a pre-approval where I've collected your W-2s, your tax returns, your pay stubs from the last 30 days, your bank statements. And I've also put that in front of my underwriting team. And a pre-approval has actually been looked at and signed off on, like, yep, you do have, a 700 credit score. You do make $50,000. You do have all of these things lined up. So a pre-approval is basically a confirmation of everything that you've said on the phone and said, yes, you're now eligible for X amount of dollars for a home purchase.
Definitely. So so you guys got it. That's the difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. Like I said before, I've mentioned it in other videos. But I love to just have it, have you guys hear it from someone that actually works on the, she's a loan officer. Yeah, she gives you more information than I could. So that's that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with first-time home buyers should know before they start looking to buy a house?
Honestly, it's really hard to, like I said before, everyone has a different story. They have a different situation, but I know it can be such a scary, scary process, but open communication 100% of the time is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Yeah. Because Christian and I work together. We talk, I don't know, 3-4 times a day.
Yes.
More if you're under contract. And just knowing that the 3 of us or 4 of us, depending on how many people, are trying to buy a house, are all on the same page can just make the loan so much easier. It can also, if not everyone's on the same page, it can also break a loan. So just knowing from the very beginning, okay, well, yes, you're pre-approved for 400,000, but you really only want to spend 250. That's great. We're never going to twist your arm, but it's better to know that so we don't keep showing you houses that are outside of what you want. So setting the standards for you, setting the standards for us, and then, you know, we can kind of set the standards back is really, really what's important. It's just having open communication and really showing trust and, you know, believing in the process. And, you know, I know it's scary, but I'm trying to be reassuring here.
No, definitely. I mean, and I strongly believe in that communication. It's very key, especially when you begin the process of buying a house. You know, a lack of communication could break a deal. It could break a deal all day long. You know, when we are under a deal, there's certain deadlines that we have to meet, and if there is no communication, we could lose a deal. You know,
and if you have questions, just call or text. You know, if it's a question that maybe Christian doesn't know, he'll ask me, and vice versa. Because each of us do a different job. We might know kind of what you're asking, or might kind of know the answer, but we can get it for you. You know, if you're asking me more of something that's in his ballpark or something, vice versa.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, if you've been thinking of buying a house, you know, as I always say, don't wait till next week or next year. You should just, you know, just today, you could, you know, contact us today and we could give you more information. Now you have a roadmap that can guide you through the whole process of being able to buy a house. And as well, if you click on the link that I've also provided in the descriptions, I'll give you a free guide. It's going to be sent to your email with all the steps of buying a house. So you don't first start looking at houses. You first need to choose a realtor, and then you need to get a pre-approval, pre-qualification letter. And then the third one is when you begin to look at houses. So, you know, and it's very important that you get a pre-approval, pre-qual before you begin to look at houses, because you don't want your heart broken, and we don't want your heart broken. So yeah, we need to know what budget we're talking about. So yeah, so that's that. Do you want to share anything else?
I mean, I'm good. You guys can always, I'm sure Christian's going to tag me in this, but you can, I'm on Facebook all the time. I do a lot of questions from my friends and other business that comes from there. So feel free to shoot me a message, or I'm sure one of my pages has my contact information all over it. But if you want, you can shoot me a text message. My phone number is 401-477-6064, and I'm Meg from Movement Mortgage.
Definitely. Thank you, Meg, for being with us today. No and just so you stay posted, this weekend on Saturday, we're going to be having, Fall River is going to be having the Fall River Food Truck Festival. So if you are like me, a food lover, you know, I bet I'm going to see you there then. This Saturday, Saturday 25. There's going to be the Fall River Food Truck Festival happening here in Fall River. So if you live here or nearby Fall River, you know, I invite you to swing by and, you know, try different type of foods. But yeah, stay posted, and I'll see you around. And as always, thank you so much for supporting my page and liking my page. And if you know anyone that's interested in buying a house or just been thinking about it, contemplating the thought of buying a house, as always, feel free to share this video with them, and you know, share my page and click likes. Meg, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me, Christian.
All right, guys, you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Here we go. Oh, it's still recording.